All right, so today's deep dive is going to take us somewhere pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking science fiction level stuff.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
A scientific discovery, right?
Yeah.
It's about a switch.
Not just any switch, I bet.
No. This one is controlled, get this, by a single atom.
Seriously. Like one atom flips the whole thing.
That's what we're talking about today.
All right, color me intrigued. You've got my attention.
So this isn't just some theoretical what if, right? This is happening.
Right. I mean, it has to be real. A single atom. It's actually a biological mechanism found in a protein.
A protein.
Okay.
Called Ferredoxin.
Ferredoxin. I feel like I've heard that before.
You probably have.
Yeah.
It's pretty fundamental stuff.
Yeah, doesn't that have something to do with how our cells make energy?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. Ferredoxin, it's crucial. It's in almost every living thing.
Wow, every living thing. That's a big deal.
It really is. It's like...
So remind everyone what exactly ferredoxin does. Okay, so think of it this way. It's an electron carrier.
Electron carrier. Like, it delivers electrons. Where are they going?
In these reactions, these energy-producing reactions called redox reactions.
Redox, okay. I think I vaguely remember that from chemistry class.
Yeah, it's basically reactions where electrons get transferred around.
So ferredoxin is like the delivery truck for these electrons.
Exactly. It picks them up, it drops them off, keeps the whole energy production process running smoothly.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So where does this single atom switch come into play? How does that even work?
So get this, researchers have figured out that there's a single hydrogen atom.
Just one hydrogen atom.
Yeah, attached to this ferredoxin protein, and it acts like a lever, a tiny lever, that controls whether the protein can even pick up and deliver those electrons.
Hold on, wait a minute. One atom is deciding whether the whole energy process is on or off. That's
pretty mind-blowing, right?
That's insane. It's like a microscopic on-off switch for life itself.
Pretty much, and that's why this discovery is such a big deal.
Okay, but how did scientists even figure this out? We're talking about an atom here that's incredibly tiny. How do you even see something like that, let alone figure out what it's doing?
You're right. It's definitely not easy. They had to use some very specialized techniques.
So, like, what kind of techniques are we talking about?
Well, they used a method called neutron diffraction, which let them create this super precise 3D map of the ferredoxin protein.
The 3D map.
Yeah, but down to the level of individual atoms.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. But I have to ask, how can you see a hydrogen atom? Those are notoriously difficult to visualize.
They are. It's incredibly hard to see hydrogen atoms in protein molecules, even with neutron diffraction. I mean, they're so tiny, so light.
Yeah, right? They're like the ghosts of the atomic world. Always there.
Yeah.
But barely detectable.
Exactly. So what makes this research even more impressive is that...
They actually saw the hydrogen atom.
They did. And to put that into perspective, less than 0.2% of all the protein structures that we know have been mapped with this level of detail.
Wow, 0.2%. That's like finding a needle in a haystack, but on an atomic scale.
You got it. It really shows you how cutting edge this research is.
Okay, I'm definitely even more impressed now. So they have this 3D map, and they can see the hydrogen atom. What did they find out about what this hydrogen atom is actually doing? How does it control the whole process?
Right, so the hydrogen atom, it's located on this amino acid. It's called aspartic acid 64.
Okay, aspartic acid, got it.
And what they found is it interacts with this cluster, this iron-sulfur cluster that's inside the ferredoxin protein.
An iron-sulfur cluster, okay.
Yeah, and this cluster is really important for the electron transfer.
Okay, so the hydrogen is over here, the iron-sulfur cluster is over there, and somehow they're connected.
Yeah, and here's the kicker. The aspartic acid, it's actually pretty far away from that iron-sulfur cluster.
Wait, what? It's controlling something that's far away from it. How does that even work?
I know, it sounds crazy, right? It's like
flipping a light switch in your living room.
And the lamp in your bedroom turns on.
Exactly. It makes no sense. But that's how this nano-switch works, right?
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Action at a distance within a single molecule.
That is so wild. Okay, so earlier you said ferredoxin is found in pretty much everything alive.
Right.
Does that mean this nano-switch, it's everywhere too?
That's what the research seems to be suggesting.
So this tiny switch, it's been powering life from the very beginning. That's
pretty amazing, isn't it? And it raises a lot of questions, too.
Like, what other secrets are hiding in our cells? What other tiny things are controlling these huge processes that make life possible?
Exactly. This is just the beginning. It's like we've opened this tiny window into this whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah, I'm definitely hooked. So before we get too lost in the wonder of it all, let's talk about what we can actually do with this knowledge. What are the practical implications? Like, how could this actually help people?
Oh, there are so many exciting possibilities, especially when it comes to medicine and technology.
Like, give me an example.
Well, remember those ultra-sensitive sensors we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Imagine being able to detect diseases like cancer or Alzheimer's.
Whoa, hold on. Are you saying this tiny switch could help us diagnose diseases way earlier than we can now?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because this switch is so vital for how cells make energy, right? Any little hiccup in that process could be a sign, an early sign of something going wrong, of disease.
So we're talking early detection here.
That's the idea. We're talking about catching diseases maybe years before we even notice any symptoms.
Okay, I'm getting chills. This is huge. Early detection is everything, right, for so many diseases.
It really is.
But I'm still trying to wrap my head around how these sensors would actually work, at a practical level.
Okay, so think of these sensors as like tiny little spies.
Tiny spies.
Yeah. They're sneaking into your cells, checking things out, and reporting back on anything that seems off.
I like that analogy.
Okay.
So what are they looking for? What's suspicious activity in the cell?
They'd be looking for tiny changes, really minute changes in the levels of certain molecules.
Like what kind of molecules?
Well, things like oxygen, for example.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We need oxygen to survive. So if our cells aren't getting enough, that's a bad sign.
Right. And then there's nitric oxide.
Nitric oxide. Okay, that one's less familiar. What's so special about that?
Nitric oxide is pretty fascinating. It's involved in all sorts of things in our bodies.
Like what?
Well, it helps regulate blood flow. It's
Yeah.
involved in transmitting signals in the nervous system.
So it's kind of a multitasker, this nitric oxide.
Yeah, you could say that. And because it's involved in so many things, being able to monitor its levels can give us clues about what's going on throughout the body.
So if the levels are off, it could be a sign that something's not quite right.
Exactly. For example, changes in nitric oxide levels have been linked to cardiovascular disease.
Heart problems, right?
Yep. And that's a major health issue, a leading cause of death worldwide.
So imagine if we had a sensor that could tell us we're at risk for heart problems, years before we actually have a heart attack.
That's the kind of power we're talking about here, the ability to prevent disease instead of just reacting to it.
This is incredible. But hold on, you mentioned new drugs earlier. How would this discovery help with developing those?
Okay, so if we know how this nano-switch works, right, how it controls that flow of electrons inside the cell,
Yeah, I'm with you.
we could potentially design drugs that can mess with that process, manipulate it in a good way.
Mess with it? What do you mean?
Well, think about it. What if we could create a drug that would shut down energy production in cancer cells?
Starve them out, basically.
Exactly. But the key is it would only target those cancer cells, leaving the healthy cells alone.
Wow. It'd be like having a molecular scalpel. Super precise, only cutting out the bad stuff.
That's a great way to put it. But of course, it's not that simple. It's a huge challenge to design drugs that can do this.
Yeah, it sounds insanely complicated.
It is, but researchers are making progress. They're using these incredibly sophisticated computer models, really advanced lab techniques, to try to figure out how to target this nano-switch.
So it's like we're hacking the system, but on a microscopic level.
Kind of. And the goal is to develop personalized medicine where treatments are tailored to each individual person.
Like a custom-made drug just for you, based on your genes and your specific disease.
That's the dream. Imagine taking a drug that's designed to work perfectly with your body, minimizing side effects and maximizing effectiveness.
This is like the future of medicine we see in movies. But it's all stemming from this tiny switch controlled by a single atom.
It just shows you how these seemingly insignificant things, these tiny little details, can have these enormous consequences.
It's mind-blowing. And it's a testament to how amazing science is, right? The curiosity, the dedication to unraveling these mysteries.
Absolutely. And who knows what other amazing discoveries are out there waiting for us to uncover them.
Okay, so this all sounds incredibly promising. But how long are we talking before this actually becomes reality? Are these treatments years away, decades away, or is this still firmly in the realm of science fiction?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have to remember that science takes time, right? It's a process, and sometimes it's a slow one.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm just so eager to see how this all plays out.
Me too. But I'm optimistic. I think we'll see some real-world benefits within our lifetime.
I hope so. This is just too exciting to stay in the lab forever.
It definitely is.
Okay, so before we go any further, I want to make sure our listeners can really picture this, What does this future actually look like?
Okay, I can do that. Picture this. Okay, imagine it's time for your yearly checkup at the doctor.
Okay, I'm there. What happens?
But this time it's a little different. Instead of those usual blood tests, the poking and prodding.
The awkward questions.
Yeah, all that. Instead, you just breathe into this small, handheld device.
It's like something straight out of Star Trek.
I know, right? It analyzes your breath, but here's the thing.
It's looking for clues, right?
It uses this tech, based on that nano-switch we talked about, and it can detect even the tiniest traces of certain molecules.
Molecules that signal a problem.
Exactly. And these molecules can show up even before you feel sick.
So we're talking about diagnosing diseases way, way earlier than we do now.
That's the goal. Catch it early, and treatment is so much more effective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are the treatments like in this future?
Well, instead of invasive surgeries, or chemo, which can be really rough.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Right. Imagine taking a simple pill.
Just a pill.
Yeah, but this pill, it's super targeted. It goes right to the problem cells and fixes them, but without harming the healthy ones.
So basically, no more side effects. That sounds amazing.
And because we're catching things so early, you might not even need that pill.
Seriously?
It's possible. The body's pretty good at healing itself, given the chance.
So we're talking about a future where diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, they're not these big, scary things anymore.
That's the hope, yeah.
That's incredible. But what about, living longer? Could this discovery lead to that?
It's an interesting thought, right? I mean, what if we could use what we've learned about this nano-switch to actually slow down aging?
Hold on. Are you saying we could live longer? Like, way longer?
I'm just speculating, of course. But if we can control cellular energy, who knows what's possible?
Okay, now that's getting a little too sci-fi for me. But I have to admit, it's a pretty cool idea.
It is, right. And it's not just about living longer. It's about living better, healthier.
Like staying active and sharp even when you're older.
Exactly. Imagine being able to do all the things you love well into your later years.
That's definitely something to look forward to.
But okay, let's be realistic for a second.
Yeah, we've got to come back down to earth a bit.
All of this amazing potential, it comes with some challenges too, right? Ethical questions we need to think about.
Yeah, of course. We can't just ignore that stuff.
For example, how do we make sure everyone has access to these advancements? We don't want to create a world where only the rich can afford to be healthy and live longer.
That's a really important point. We need to make sure this technology benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole issue of unintended consequences, right? When we start messing with the very building blocks of life, we need to be super careful.
Yeah, we don't want to create some kind of Frankenstein situation.
Right. It's a big responsibility, and we need to approach it with both excitement, but also caution and wisdom.
So basically, we've opened this incredible door, but we need to be really careful about what we do next.
That's a good way to put it.
All right, listeners, it's a lot to think about, right? As we learn more about this tiny atomic switch and all its potential, it's important to stay engaged, ask questions, and make sure these discoveries are used for good.
The future isn't something that just happens to us. We have a say in it. And discoveries like this, they give us the power to create a better world.
That's a great message to end on. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the amazing world of science. It's been a wild ride.
It really has.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep diving deep.